Hello and welcome back to our recent episode of The Love Project with me, your host Han Royani, and your co-host
BJ, what's up?
Yeah, my name is Han Royani. Okay, sorry, I mispronounced
His own name, kan? He forgot his own name. Ramadan must be hitting hard, yes. Must be hitting hard today, eh?
Ramadan is tough. Ramadan is tough.
This whole week, it seems like like both of us forgot to shower.
We were wearing the same clothes since
for a
last
whole
week.
week.
Yeah, for a whole week.
Damn.
Yeah, I think it's Ramadan lah.
Yeah. Working hard for you guys.
Yeah, I woke up early to sahur.
Yeah, you look like you did.
Yeah. I look like I didn't even sleep. Okay. Serious business, okay? We're gonna get back to basically international news, okay? We're gonna get back to international news. Coming back from our episode last week, we were talking about
mostly local, right?
Mostly local news and how Trump was meeting Putin and how he was meeting all these other world leaders. But first, I mean, there's a lot we're going to uncover today. But first, we're going to talk about Trump's immigration policies and current plans.
Right.
You know, so as we all know, Trump ran his presidential campaign on the promise of deporting all these illegal aliens, as he would call them, as part of his presidential campaign. So he said all that, and now that he's president, he's trying to implement that.
Yep.
And he's actually started deporting a lot of people, like hundreds of people, but one of them was actually gotten viral because he deported this activist called Mahmoud Khalil. He was there in the US originally with a student visa. So he studied at a university that I forgot which university it was.
I think it was Columbia.
University. Columbia.
Yeah. In New York.
So he studied there with a student visa, and then eventually he got a green pass.
Green card, yeah.
Green card, yes. And a few weeks ago, maybe recently, he was part of a pro-Palestinian protest
on campus.
On campus, and recently he's just been. He was threatened, or he was caught and planned to be deported by the Trump administration, or by ICE, basically. Which is crazy for me, I feel like, because he has a green card. He was a student on a student visa. So he's just exercising his free speech in America, by going to the protests. And now he's being deported. And when asked about why they are deporting him, it's because he displayed a pro-Hamas mindset. Yeah. So have you heard about this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
it's been covered a lot in the news over the past week.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of you might not like this. Might not like my take on this. However, I feel like, okay, let's get to the details first. First detail to understand is that a green card is not citizenship. Although a green card is a step beyond student visa in terms of getting citizenship eventually.
All right.
If you have a green card, of course, it means that you are on the right track to getting that citizenship.
Okay.
However, having a green card status is also a type of visa. It's just that consider it like if I don't know if you're familiar, but in Australia they have they don't call it a green card, but they call it a permanent residency. I think in Malaysia as well. If you have a permanent residency, you have a red IC card. Yeah. So that means that you are one step below a citizen. So unfortunately, for green card holders, they do not yet have rights as citizens. So under the Constitution, the right to freedom of speech and expression is only guaranteed to
for Americans.
Americans.
All right.
So If you have citizenship, then obviously those rights are inalienable, as it says in the American Constitution. However, he is not a full-fledged American citizen. As such, his green card status, and make no mistake, not just him, but anyone's green card status can be revoked at any time for a list of infractions against their regulations, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So, another thing to understand is that Hamas, regardless of how people feel about it, about Hamas in other parts of the world, Hamas is, in the US at least, has been designated as a terrorist organization officially. You know,
Said by the US and the
the US government considers them officially a terrorist organization.
okay. And
So,
did the US consider themselves as a terrorist organization?
of course not. But,
Of course not.
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's their country, so
Okay.
they. In that sense, if you are showing, is to them, showing support for Hamas is just like showing support for Al Qaeda, you know, or ISIS, or it's the same thing.
Okay.
So while regardless of how I feel about it personally, I think that the US decision was right. And to piggyback on this point, they have even there was another professor,
Okay.
a woman who is of Lebanese descent, if I'm not mistaken. Lebanese or Libyan,
Okay.
one of those, who was a lecturer, teacher in one of the American universities, who went back to Lebanon, I think it was,
Oh, okay.
to attend the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, former leader of Hamas. And she, as of today, still has been denied entry back into the US, also a green card holder.
Even though she's a professor.
Yeah, but she has been denied entry into the US, and she was sent back to Lebanon or Libya. I think it was Lebanon. Yeah, so while I don't know, man.
So you're saying that if you're a student or someone that's working in the United States, they shouldn't join any protests.
That's not what I'm saying. You can. I'm pretty sure you can. Although they don't like it, of course, but you can still protest on behalf of Palestinians. It's just that when you get into the realm of protesting on behalf of Hamas, then that becomes an issue.
Yeah,
because
but
Hamas, I don't know if many people know this, but Hamas is mostly in Gaza. They are not in the West Bank, for example. You know, the West Bank has their own system of governance and all that. And even ethnically, the people that live in Gaza and the people that live in the West Bank are quite different culturally, ethnically. So, I want to segue this into a potential solution for this whole Israel Palestine thing. And we've heard of the one state solution, right?
Like when it comes to mixing Israel and Palestine together, or what?
Israel and Palestinians live in
Oh,
Israel.
so two-state solution.
No, that is one state.
Okay.
Palestinians are Palestinians,
Right.
but they will be governed by Israelis. There's no more Palestine.
Oh, right.
There's no more country called Palestine.
Okay.
So everything is under Israel. This is what people call the one state solution.
Okay.
All right. What you just alluded to is the two-state solution, where there is a state of Israel and also a state of Palestine, and these territories overlap. But as we know, although that it has been the case for most of the last 80 years or so, oppression has still been happening on behalf of the Israelis on
the Gazans,
onto the Palestinians, not just Gazans, but even in the West Bank and in other places. So that is a two-state solution. What I've heard about more recently, and what I think is a more palatable solution, is a three-state solution.
which is
Gaza being Gaza, West Bank being West
Okay.
Bank, Israel being Israel.
No, but the problem is that I think that if they do that, that will give Israel the leeway to destroy Gaza even more, because they'll say, okay, since Hamas is just predominantly in Gaza, we'll just destroy Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, it's not that they haven't already destroyed Gaza, you know.
Yeah,
what I
yeah. But that's the thing. Like Hamas, especially in other parts of the world, have been getting a lot of support because they represent the Gazans.
mean? Some would say they're not a terrorist group. Some would say they are a
Freedom fighter.
like a resistance group.
Yeah, freedom
Yeah.
fighters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, the line is blurred between freedom fighter and terrorists. Unfortunately,
Okay.
like this debate has been going on long before, since George Bush the first
Okay.
senior became president, and he did Desert Storm during the Gulf Wars. Back there was in the late 80s, I think it was.
I'm not familiar with this, but
Yeah. So there was a lot of talk that what were the Iraqis at the time? You know, were they terrorists, or were they just defending their own personal freedoms to function how they want? When George Bush invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, same debate came up again.
Yeah.
You know, whether the Afghans, Al Qaeda and all, were they actually just freedom fighters, or were they actually terrorists? So now with Hamas, it's the same debate has crept up again. I personally feel like Hamas is a terrorist group.
Okay.
On my end, on my opinion from what I know about them, and on top of that, I not only think they are a terrorist group, but they are also a bad representation for the Palestinians.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
while you see their argument as to why peace cannot happen is very similar to the argument that Zelensky has in Ukraine as to why peace cannot happen immediately right now.
What did they say?
And it's because so much death and destruction has happened,
Yeah.
that it's hard to
You
think
cannot
about
forget
peace.
about.
Yeah. And while that makes sense, while I completely, maybe not empathize, because I don't know what it's like to be in that situation, but I completely sympathize with that. I also think that for all intents and purposes, the killing has to be stopped. Like,
For sure.
stop now. And unfortunately for the Palestinians, they don't have leverage.
No.
They don't have a military. They don't have an economic system to protect, or that can help protect them.
The media is against them.
The media, a lot of the media is against them. So it's unfortunate, but the killing has to stop, and as it does in Ukraine as well. If not, because like Zelensky, for example, he can take this stance, this hard stance of like, no, we will never give up. We'll keep fighting until the last Ukrainian. But if you do that, you don't have, and eventually you're not gonna have anything to fight for.
Right.
You know, if you keep sending your people to die, like I think we spoke about this before, where the current average age of the Ukrainian
Military.
combatant
Yeah.
is between 40 to 50 years old, and that is because a lot of the Ukrainian people themselves do not want to send their 18 to 30-year-old males to repopulate Israel, repopulate Ukraine.
Okay.
And if they do that, they will have nothing to repopulate with.
Exactly.
But if you don't, in Zelensky's head, if you don't stop the Russians are going to take all of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is not true. At least based on evidence of what Putin has always said, it's unlikely that Putin wants all of Ukraine.
Okay.
He just wants the ethnically Russian parts of Ukraine
Okay.
back. Crimea, Donbass,
Okay.
Luhansk,
Okay.
Donetsk. So when it comes to the Palestinians, while it's not a matter of territory per se anymore,
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten to the point where it feels like the Palestinians, especially Hamas, who are for all intents and purposes negotiating on behalf of Hamas. I think it would be if they really cared about the Gazans, they should try to work towards a ceasefire as much as they can.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like as Palestinians or probably even Hamas, I think they would rather have the ceasefire. I mean, Israel has violated the ceasefire a few times, but I'm not trying to defend Hamas here, but if you, let's say, in a country where you don't have military, you don't have like media, or you don't have anything, it's hard for me to just let things happen and watch like my family get killed, my house gets destroyed, and no one is standing up for us.
Mhm.
I can't get food.
Mhm.
You know, I can't feed my family. Life is so against me right now. I feel like they've lost hope, maybe, to the point that, okay, since no one is going to do anything, I should do this myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So which is why, like, when Israelis say that, everyone in Gaza or everyone in Palestine are terrorists, they're gonna grow up to be terrorists, whose fault is that? If you say
Yep.
they're terrorists,
Yep.
yeah, whose fault is that? Yeah. So Hamas, they are doing what the military of Palestine
Would be
would
doing
would be
if they
doing.
existed.
Yes. Yeah.
I've heard the argument.
Mm.
Yeah, but I don't know. I get that, and yes, I agree with you. That is the role that they are playing now.
Mm-hmm.
However, as for all intents and purposes, they are the leaders of
Palestine.
Gaza lah, at least. Okay, if not the whole of Palestine. They should care about, as a leader, you have to care about the continuation of your people,
Right.
the longevity of your people. And you go down this route and there will be no people to defend. Eventually. You can talk about how it is deplorable.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about how it is a genocide already and how it's going to get even worse
Mm-hmm.
if the fighting continues. If Hamas doesn't have the leverage at this current moment in time to be like, yo, you guys need to stop, like, or we'll keep this up.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the people, they don't have the weapons, they don't have anything. And in this situation, I feel like if you are a leader, of course he's going to get a lot, whoever that does this is going to get a lot of criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and probably might even be under death threats. But you have to make sure whatever's left of your population survives. At this point, it's gotten to that extent,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And whatever it is, the killing has to stop.
Exactly.
The killing has to stop. The people dying have to stop.
You know, we can debate about who started it or
Yeah.
what should be done, but I
For
think we
now,
can,
this current
yeah.
moment in time, the killing has to
Yes,
stop.
I think we can all agree that there needs to be a permanent ceasefire.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people shouldn't needlessly die.
And we also remiss if we don't mention that even with a ceasefire, the oppression will stop.
No.
Because the oppression will not stop,
No.
especially on the Israeli part. They have been oppressing the Palestinians for decades. You know, even if when they weren't at war,
Mhm.
they were still being oppressed. Palestinians were still being oppressed.
And throughout the years, they've had multiple like massacres
Yeah.
committed against them.
Yep.
You know.
So it's unfortunate, but the death and destruction that has happened on the scale that it has over the last few years since October 7,
Mhm.
that has to stop. That has to stop. It's at the very least you have to stop the airstrikes. You have to stop the jet strafings and all that. You have to stop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't have anything to defend themselves against jets.
Yeah.
You know.
I cannot open Instagram one more time and see another like mass killings.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the Palestinians have to give up more in order for the killing to stop, but they don't have a choice. It's sad, but they don't have a choice. No one's the people that are supposed to be their allies are allied with their enemy,
Enemy.
unfortunately. And you know, it's hard, but it has to stop. The killing has to stop. That has to be priority number one. If you are the leader, and you have to put the ego aside, and you have to think about the continuation of your population. I feel like it's gotten to that point. Same goes for Israel. Same goes for Palestine as it does for the Ukraine. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to a different topic.
Yep.
To a different part of the world. So
Closer to home.
closer to home, actually, in Southeast Asia. In fact. So I'm not sure if you were familiar with this news story, but basically, the former president Felipe Duterte, is that his name? Duterte. He was recently
Philippines.
of the Philippines. He was recently arrested by the ICC, International Criminal Court.
Yes.
Right. He was arrested over his alleged involvement in
War crimes.
So basically, what he did in the Philippines, he basically, during his tenure as prime minister, he enacted this act where he would clean up the streets of Philippines. Anyone that was caught or anyone that had a previous drug-related charge, everyone was locked up, and eventually most people were killed. Everyone that had like any sort of drug offenses related to any sorts of gangs. Yeah.
Damn.
He killed them.
Ice cold.
So it has garnered this has led to people
Were they like
protesting.
mostly Muslims or what? No,
I'm not sure. I think it's mostly drug related
so
charges.
it's nothing to do with religion.
No. So he did that, and as usual, it split the people. So there are some people in the Philippines who are like, this is inhumane, like these people should be treated better. These people were sick, and maybe they could have,
even the addicts.
So maybe
not just the dealers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe they're like, we could have like helped them, instead of
So
them
even the
going
addicts
through.
were killed.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay.
So and then and on the other hand, there are also people of the Philippines that are saying, you know what, the streets are much safer. We can go out at night now. We can get more jobs. We get more job opportunities. So it's split. So recently, Duterte, the former prime minister, the former president, I think, he was arrested by the ICC. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Have you heard of Nayib Bukele?
Nayib Bukele.
Have you heard of
No.
this name? He's the president of El Salvador.
Okay.
So Duterte was doing this, I think, a lot like before he did it. So, but Nayib Bukele is the president of El Salvador,
Right.
a small Central American country.
Yep.
I think just south of Mexico. And when he became president, I think it was in 2023, he became president. He immediately declared emergency martial law, and he rounded up all the violent gangs because they have a gang issue in El Salvador.
El Salvador, yeah.
Yeah, so they took all the violent gangs, rounded them all up. All the nephews, cousins, and brothers of these violent gangsters also were rounded up. Yeah. But they were not killed, of course.
Oh, okay.
They were not murdered, but they are kept in Supermax security prisons in El Salvador.
Wow.
Yeah. So what happened was that the same thing sort of happened in El Salvador, where the people were rejoicing it. Like, people outside were saying like, oh, this is a gross violation of human rights. You shouldn't be, how can you do this and all that. But technically it's all under the El Salvadorian constitution, and it was done democratically. And he is now still president of El Salvador, enjoying, I think, the highest approval rating for any president in El Salvador's history as well. So the only difference between him and Duterte is that he did not kill these prisoners.
So
but they do still remain in jail,
right,
with not really the best conditions in the world. It is El Salvador.
Yeah.
So, but the streets are very much safer.
Okay.
You know? And Philippines, from what I've seen over the last couple of years, has also been regarded as a very safe area nowadays.
Yeah.
You know? Despite all that Duterte has done.
Yeah.
And there was fighting, you know. There was
even before what Duterte did, it was pretty safe. Is that what you're saying?
No,
okay.
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that Duterte, there was a period where it wasn't safe. Where there was a lot of fighting, like a lot of between the military and the cartels.
Right.
In the Philippines, there was a lot of killing happening between them and all that. So, while I don't agree with killing them, I don't know in the what the context is of him killing them. Maybe he's killing only like the worst offenders. I don't know. But how I feel about it is that if he had just imprisoned them, maybe he didn't have space. That can be another issue. But the whole thing is that he's made the Philippines safer for the law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
Which should matter the most. You know?
Yeah, but the way that he's done it is a bit extreme, no? Because he had a death squad. Basically, he had a death squad. So,
but these were criminals, though, and they were all, and don't forget the south of the Philippines, they are so known for terrorism. Like the Jemaah Islamiyah and all that, they all from that region, from the Muslims. Not all, of course, but a lot of them were radicalized in that region. Even some Malaysians. You heard of Nordin Maktop?
I've heard his name before.
This was like way back in
Maktop,
back in the 2000s, you know. So he was a Malaysian who went and got radicalized in the Philippines, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Philippines, Indonesia, all these places. So there were, and if I'm not mistaken, during the 2002 Bali bombings, the Bali nightclub bombings, there were Filipinos involved in that as well.
Right.
You know, so I'm all for making the place safer. You know, maybe the murder is a bit, the killing, you know, executions are a bit too far. But I don't know the context of it.
Yeah, so officially the numbers that the Philippine government put out was that they killed around 6,000 people. But some human rights groups have estimated that the number was probably closer to 30,000 people that they killed. Yeah, so apparently
there's a lot less than what Naib Bukele imprisoned, though. Naib Bukele imprisoned like 95,000 people.
Okay, but he didn't kill most of them.
No, he didn't kill any of them.
Yeah,
I don't think.
But like,
I don't think they have capital punishment in El Salvador.
Yeah, but in Duterte's war against drugs, actually many children were killed, you know, or suffered from the consequences of his campaign. So, I mean, I agree with you on the fact that...
But what's the alternative, though? I mean, you want to let the drug cartels take over like Mexico?
No, I think like maybe you can provide a...
No, because why I say that, sometimes they don't understand anything other than when you kill them.
Nah, I think
I'm saying I'm not saying normal people. I'm saying the drug cartels.
Okay.
You know, they don't understand. Stop. They don't understand. We're gonna put you in prison. They don't understand being in prison, because on drug offenses you're eventually gonna get out. You're not gonna be in there for 30 years. You know, this is not the US. So
I think there should be multiple ways. There are multiple ways in which they can make it better. First of all, education. Second of all, more opportunities, job opportunities for the youths or for the fresh graduates. Third of all, like rehabilitation program for addicts or like correctional.
I don't agree with that though.
Correctional institution behavior places.
I don't agree with imprisoning addicts. That I don't agree with.
No, but we should at least help them lah, not kill them.
No. I'm saying like prosecuting them in any way, shape or form is not the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the addicts, I'm okay like if he's executing the dealers, like the higher up dealers, that's fine. But not the addicts. The addicts need help.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
They fell into a hole. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, but when it comes to the drug dealers themselves, I get the logic of it. Okay, I'm not saying that there's no benefit to killing the addicts.
Yeah.
There sort of is, in the sense that you are eliminating the demand.
Yeah.
You know, but you're eliminating the demand as well as the supply in one go.
Yeah.
I get that argument for it, but on a human level, that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to help them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that all of them shouldn't be killed. Maybe some of them do deserve or need to be killed.
The ones that have
based from
committed
their-
murders and crimes based on that, yeah.
But not all of them. I feel like
Not all.
most of them could have been avoided.
30,000 seems a bit much.
Yeah, I think it could have been avoided. I feel like.
Maybe.
So I don't know. Thinking.
But I just want to know what is the context. You know, if
mean,
they were in prison and then they were executed like within the confines of the law, then I don't think that outside forces should interfere. But if he's just imprisoning them, like, and then making it like a concentration camp just to wait, just to bide their time until they're going to be executed without trial, without anything, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. But if you execute these people because maybe 10 of them are in your top 10 most wanted list of the Philippines and you execute them, you can make an
That's
argument.
a different story.
You can make an argument. You know?
I'm not
But
sure about
the addicts, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Philippines judicial prison system goes, but what I mean is like for Duterte, he could have just gone through like the normal process and let things happen as usual, but he chose to go like an extreme route in order, maybe like the most efficient way for him to curb the whole situation.
Maybe, to be honest, maybe it was extreme circumstances. Maybe the violence of these drug cartels in the Philippines was so bad. And you know, violence by drug cartels, especially in the Philippines, is not going to be major news. Especially because it's not Mexico.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not Mexico. And Mexico is being run literally by the drug cartels. You know? So, I don't know. You don't want a narco state. You don't want it to end up.
You don't. No.
You don't want it to end up like what Mexico is now,
Yeah.
where the drug cartels have more high-tech weapons than the Mexican military, which is nuts. That shouldn't be the case. And the drug cartels can just target and kill whoever they want, whenever they want, in broad daylight or not. It's up to them. That's not a great.
Yeah, you don't want your
that
country to be like that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. The killing is the issue here.
Yes.
When it comes to Duterte, you know, the killing. And I think we need more context as to how the killings happen. How was it execution? Was it?
It's mostly execution.
It's mostly execution.
Mostly execution. So that's tough.
That's tough.
So
But if Filipinos are not complaining, why should other people complain?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If Filipinos are not complaining, why is the ICC getting involved?
Okay, but it's just the way that he does this thing. It's a bit extreme. But okay, let's say you were able to indict Duterte and eventually arrest Duterte for this crimes against humanity or war crimes.
Okay.
So he allegedly killed like 30,000 people who were, maybe half of them were guilty.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And Duterte was arrested. But Benjamin Netanyahu, who has committed more war, like Duterte didn't drop any bombs. Netanyahu dropped more bombs than, I don't know, like there's so many comparisons that I can compare to, but they've dropped so many bombs on Palestine. But still, he's not getting arrested. I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. And even he's got the protection of certain countries. Like, he can even travel to certain countries without having the fear of being arrested in those countries. You know, even though ICC and like a lot of other countries have now declared him a war criminal, but he's still allowed to roam around.
Because it goes back to something that I've told you before, is who makes international law?
The
People
US.
the people like to think is the international community.
No, it's
but
not.
what does the international community mean? It just means that international community just means all the countries that exist in the world.
Yeah.
But
most of these countries don't have power.
yeah, exactly. So when it comes to the ICC, the UN, and all that, who is going to implement what they say?
The US mostly.
The US, at the very least, it has to have the US support.
Yeah.
You know, like they might have Interpol, for example, but Interpol is more an intelligence gathering agency rather than law enforcement agency. You know, so it goes down to that. The root of it is international law is made by the people who want to enforce it. You know, so if you go to a country, you have an ICC warrant. Because ICC warrant, technically, an ICC or ICJ warrant is valid in every single country under the ICC, right? But if a certain country does not want to arrest that person, they're just not going to arrest that person. End of story. There's no repercussion for example, Benjamin Netanyahu coming to Malaysia, and the Malaysian authorities don't arrest him, let him leave the country again. There's no repercussion towards Malaysia.
Why not?
Who's going to give the repercussion? Who's gonna be like, oh, you let Netanyahu go?
Okay, I get your point, because if we arrested him, the US is gonna
it's gonna be
the US is gonna come, the
Exactly.
UK is gonna come.
Yeah.
So okay, I see your point.
Yeah.
I see your point. But they did that to Duterte though.
I see. Yeah, but Duterte nobody cares about. There's no ideological issue with Duterte. He's just a world leader. He's just an insignificant world leader.
Okay, I see.
You understand what I mean?
And he's a former.
He's not an ally.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, technically Philippines are allied with the US. Yeah, fine. But he's not vital to the interests of the US in our region. He's just not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more topic,
Yep.
and I think it's quite a big one.
Okay.
But recently, is it the U.S. government that was holding all the files?
The JFK files.
The JFK files.
Yeah.
So the U.S. government has decided that they're going to release. They just released the JFK files.
Yeah, I
right?
think a couple of days ago.
Yeah, they just released it, and to be honest, I don't know much about it. All I see are what they've been saying on the internet, and from what I read on the JFK files, it seems that the Jews did it. But I don't know. That's from what I can see from the internet. But
Okay.
maybe you can tell me more about the JFK files. So
I don't
JFK.
know.
So okay,
Okay.
let me just
Go
explain.
ahead.
So JFK is the former prime minister, as the former president of the United States, that was
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy. He was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He was shot in broad daylight next to his wife during a tour. Was it
Parade.
during a parade?
Yeah.
So and then since he died, was it Lee Harvey
Yeah.
Oswald? Okay, so the killer has been caught, but there have been multiple theories as to why or who ordered the assassination. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I haven't combed through all of the
The files.
files, obviously. There's 80,000 pages that were just released 2 days ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And there's only one reason they would release 80,000 pages. When you want to bury something. You understand? Like, you release that much information when there's information in there that you have to release, but you don't want people to know about.
Mhm.
So you release 80,000 pages and you see who is smart enough or who has the will to go through 80,000 pages
Oh,
to
yeah.
figure out what is it that the people don't actually know yet, you know. So that's one. Which, if you work in a law firm before, not dissimilar to what they do when they are requested for discovery. Like you have to give all the evidence.
Yeah.
Like they give like even
Everything.
memos that say
Yeah.
I'm going to the toilet. Those memos are printed and put
Yeah.
in the stack.
You go through them.
Yeah, you go through them. You sort it all out,
Yeah.
right? You wanted it.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing is going on here as well. That's one. Number two is the congresswoman who was appointed by Trump to head the task force. Really competent woman named Anna Paulina Luna. She's a congresswoman, Republican.
Okay.
Yeah, but but she is the head of the task force
Sorry,
to
Anna
Paulina Luna.
Paulina Luna.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is the name. So she is the head of task force to declassify all of this, and through her public statements, she has said that it seems like there were two assassins,
Two
not
assassins.
not just Lee Harvey Oswald.
Okay.
But she hasn't mentioned in public
Who the other one?
who the second one is.
Okay. So he had an accomplice, or was it as someone completely different?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, so that's the thing. Okay, but all
Who are these two people?
I don't know. She hasn't.
Oh, she hasn't mentioned
It's
it.
probably in the files, but
Okay,
like I said,
okay.
80,000 pages, man. So the thing about that, all that is fluff. You know, all that is distraction. The people, when looking at the whole JFK assassination thing, the one thing that you have to pay attention to, like we have to look at it not from a conspiratorial point of view. You got to look at it just as a basic logic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Facts and figures.
Facts and figures, right? Okay. So first thing you have to look at, who benefited. It's so easy to do this because it's happened in the past.
Yeah.
But who benefited the most?
Okay.
In your opinion, when you look at the whole JFK situation,
Okay.
who do you think benefited the most?
I think JFK
From JFK dying, who
Okay,
benefited the most?
So JFK, as I understand it, he was working on a few things. He was working with multiple groups, different people, to achieve like his outcomes that he wanted. And it's no secret that a president has many enemies, you know. So you can point the finger on anyone, really. Like you can even point it to his vice president. You can point it to his political rivals. You can point it to some of the foreign agencies that the US were against at the time.
Okay.
You know, you can just
But who? Okay, like I said again, look at it logically again. Okay.
who benefited?
Who benefited, and who benefited the most?
The media outlets.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But and also who could pull it off? We are talking about the people who organized this.
Who organized and was able to pull it off.
Yeah. Who had the power? Think about it.
Okay, I will say it's like one of the secret agencies with the experience and the equipment, but probably not them.
No, not an agency-wide thing. I don't think
Not
so.
an agency.
It's not like the whole agency was behind it, was planning it. No.
Okay,
That-
who do you think was
From what I've read
Yeah.
so far, it's 3 people that were involved. Have you heard of Allen Dulles?
Alan Dulles? No.
Dulles International Airport.
Oh yeah.
So
He
Allen.
owns Dulles International Airport.
No. Dulles International Airport was named after him.
Okay.
So Allen Dulles was the director of the CIA at the time of the assassination.
Okay.
Okay. So he had a brother. His brother was
Bryce Dallas.
No.
That's the only other Dallas I know.
John Dulles, John
Okay,
Foster Dulles.
okay.
John Dulles was Secretary of State.
Oh, okay.
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 Alan Dulles, brother, was
Was the-
director of the CIA
Yeah.
at the time of the
Oh,
assassination.
wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And vice president. Who was vice president at the time?
Oh, vice president during JFK?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. LeBron James.
So LBJ immediately became president, right?
Okay.
After
Yeah,
JFK,
yeah, after JFK, yeah.
died. Okay, so you might ask why,
Yeah.
right? Why would the three of them conspire to kill the president? What was it that the president did that
One was the head of the CIA.
Uh-huh.
One was the Secretary of State.
the foreign minister of the US,
The other one?
essentially, vice president,
Vice President.
the three most powerful people. Think about it, three most powerful people in the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why did they want to get rid of JFK?
Yeah. JFK had this thing called the Bay of Pigs invasion. Have you heard of it?
Bay of Pigs?
Invasion.
Invasion?
Yeah. Where this was in, I think it was 1969.
Okay. What's
Oh
the...
no, sorry. Before that. It was in the 60s.
What is it?
Have you heard of Operation Northwoods? No.
Yeah, I've heard.
Operation Northwoods?
But I don't know much about it.
So Bay of Pigs invasion was a part of Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was a CIA operation. This has been declassified, so this is all fact, okay?
Okay.
This has been declassified by CIA. This was a CIA operation to arm and train 1,000 Cuban exiled rebels to invade Cuba and overthrow Fidel Castro. Okay?
Okay.
So they did all the training. They got the arms in, the weapons in for them. What happened was, during the day of the invasion itself, they invaded from this area called the Bay of Pigs, which is where Guantanamo Bay is.
Right.
Okay, so these 1,000 people landed on the beach at the Bay of Pigs, and Castro had already known
Oh, that they were coming.
and was already ready on the beach with tanks, machine guns, and all
Right.
that, and just mowing them down. They called for air support. These Cuban rebels,
Uh-huh.
they called for air support. The president himself, JFK, said no. No air support.
Oh, so he's just letting these people...
Die.
Oh, okay. Is that...
Right.
So is that why?
Okay?
Okay.
And this operation was conceived by Alan Dulles. And what was the point of the operation? Was to remove Castro, right?
Uh-huh.
Right? But Kennedy said no. When the call for the airstrike, requesting for the airstrike came in, Kennedy said no. And it was because we don't want to seem like we are invading a Russian satellite state, which Cuba was at the time. Okay? So Kennedy said no and never sent the air support. So the 1,000 or so rebels that landed on the beach that day, some of them got away, but most of them died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So because of that, it was deemed that Kennedy was not a fit commander-in-chief because he did not do what was supposedly the hard thing to do, which was
To just...
give the air support,
Yeah.
no matter the optics,
do the
and
coup.
defend the people that you sent to initiate a coup,
Okay.
to orchestrate a coup. Okay, so the three people, Alan Dulles, John Foster Dulles, and Lyndon B. Johnson.
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Where did the assassination happen? Do you remember the assassination of JFK?
Houston? Chicago?
Dallas,
Oh, okay.
Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Guess who was the governor of Texas right before he became vice president?
Lyndon B.
Yep. There was a lot of talk that Kennedy became president and he won Texas
Uh-huh.
because of Lyndon B. Johnson.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
Alan Dulles and John Foster Dulles did not like the mess that he created because of the Bay of Pigs. Because he okayed the invasion and everything. But when it came to send the air support, didn't happen.
Okay.
Okay? So, they decided that Kennedy was too dangerous a figure because he was being too close to the Russians.
Oh, okay.
To let him live.
So they just executed him because of that.
Yeah. And Lyndon B. Johnson came in and initiated the Vietnam War.
Because JFK was against the
Because they
Vietnam
couldn't do Cuba anymore.
Yeah.
And the only other satellite state that was strong enough to that the Soviets would come in and help defend was Vietnam.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was
I feel like it's just okay, after hearing all this, I feel like it's just a minor reason for them to assassinate the president of the United States.
right now it does seem like that because the Berlin Wall has fallen, but at the time it was the height of the Cold War, dude. Like this was like 20 years after the end of World War II. You know? So this was like the main, like this was the height of the Cold War. Like there were threats that Russia, the USSR, was going to put nukes in Cuba. You know, that was why they had to remove Castro. It was a big deal. It was a big deal back in the 60s. But of course, now in hindsight, doesn't seem like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like such a big deal.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And by most observers, that was the main reason that JFK was killed the way he was killed.
I think more will come out in the next coming weeks about new revelations.
But no one's ever going to find the mastermind. If you're thinking about you're going to find the evidence to say who ordered the hit, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think most of them
All that
have
is
already died.
torched.
Yeah.
Torched. Yes, most of them are dead. That's true. But whatever evidence on paper,
They
torched
already
or shredded.
got rid of it. Yeah.
It's gone. Like, it would not have lasted this long, even if it was just kept somewhere, you know? Yeah. And even if they find out that there are some missing pages or whatever the case may be, who are they going to prosecute? Happened 80 years ago.
I think this is something Malaysian politicians should learn. You know, getting rid of your
Evidence.
Yeah, because nowadays a lot of Malaysian politicians
Maybe not
get
store
caught.
it on the dining table of your house, kan?
Yeah, we need to do better, Malaysian politics.
Yeah.
You know, like
Do what Pablo did, huh?
Yeah.
Like dig some holes, put it in the ground.
Yeah, burn some money, you know, burn the evidence. Yeah, don't get caught.
Maybe not burn money, dude.
Okay.
That's excessive.
Burn fake money.
Yeah. You know.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. As usual, do comment, like, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or recommendations on what we should talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments. NJ, any last words?
Nah, like, comment, subscribe. As usual, although we sound like the news, we are not the news.
We are not the news.
We are not the news. We are very opinion based.
Yes.
So take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Read up. Like, be knowledgeable.
Yes. Do your own research. And
wake up.
Don't be racist.
Wake up. It's okay to be racist in the confines of your own home.
No, don't listen to him. All right, that's all from us. All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.
Peace.
Let's go.